Hello everyone. Before we start tonight's show, I want to share some words with you regarding what's currently going on in the world and how it affects all of us. You will notice that on today's show, Eric is only present in the intro. During the recording, he asked to be excused because with everything that's going on right now, his head really wasn't in the place to participate in the recording, and that's something we, everybody on the cast, fully supports. I didn't feel right to edit out his participation in the intro and basically pretend that we all live in this happy world bubble and everything is fine. Caleb, Eric, Matt and I, we fully understand that a big part of you turning into your favorite entertainment podcasts is to enjoy them without any worries. And we do the very same with our shows. But yet as content creators, neither of us feels fully comfortable just releasing the episode as is without any foreword about what's currently happening in the US right now. I just watched a video again where they killed George Floyd by just suffocating him with the neon. You've all seen that, right? Or maybe if you didn't want to see it, you've heard about it. I thought a lot about what I wanted to say about this because this is, you rarely ever get such an act of injustice to see it, that there's literally people standing by and they want to help, but the police is stopping them from helping. The frustration, not only I, but all of us feel when we see something like that happen, when we feel how many times did people get away with this in the past? And when I thought about that, I was going to talk about my feelings, how frustrating I find that. But then I just really realized that this is one incident that I see, and black people in the US have been experiencing all of this for their entire lifetime. I'm not even trying to pretend that I can fully comprehend what it means to grow up in a society like that and to be exposed to that kind of institutional, systematic racism every single day in your life. What I do understand is that people just can't take it anymore, that there's no belief in actual change in the system except for the change they make. And people all over the US are fighting for big changes and eventual changes right now. Something that I saw Obama say that does give me a lot of optimism. And again, I'm watching this from Europe, from Germany right now. I'm not trying to, you guys probably know a lot of things better about American culture and what's going on there. But from an outsider's perspective, something that Obama just said in a speech that I watched of him was, in comparison to the civil rights struggle of the 60s, this time people protesting and working and dedicating themselves to achieving this change are a much bigger cross-section of America. And he strongly emphasizes how the majority of Americans very, very much agree with what's going on right now. And yes, we see these shitheads on Twitter or whatever you want to see them, the biggest one sitting in the White House, who are trying to feed you these stories about how there's only a minority and it's going to be over, whatever. Or are using all these stupid strawman arguments all lives matter, blue lives matter. Or trying to pretend that the people are just interested in rioting and looting and violence, that they have no real agenda. It's that's total bullshit. And I think most of us know that, if not all of us. And that's what's, I feel guilty making me optimistic for the future because, look at me. This is, not something that's having an impact on my personal life. So who am I to be optimistic for the future? That's basically, honestly, that's really not my call to make. But what I want to say is that everybody on this cast and as well not even in the US, worldwide, people are supporting what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement and what people are doing to achieve those goals. Just today in Munich, we had between 25,000, the highest estimate was, for people taking part in the Black Lives Matter protests today. So please know that you're really not alone in this cause. And while I really don't feel I'm in any kind of position, being a white guy in Germany, to tell you to be hopeful or, it's going to be better, I don't know, it feels wrong to say that. But what I want to say is that the way black people have been treated in the US and worldwide has been incredibly unfair. And if it's the smallest thing that we can do to even just talk about that in the beginning of this podcast, this is what we want to do and raise everybody's awareness, mindfulness, support, and understanding of the BLM movement. Thank you.
and welcome to Everyday Eternal number 78. I'm one of your hosts, Callum Smith, joined by Matt Pavlik, Eric Landon, and one other, I've forgotten his name, Julian Nab, that's the one. How's it going, guys?
Hey man, good to see you.
Going all right over here. How about you, Callum?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just it's a lovely evening here in the UK. Pretty chill.
I'm still around.
Matt's still here.
Matt confirms his existence.
Yeah, what have you guys been up to?
Saving the world one tooth at a time.
Oh, started a new job recently and doing that.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah.
But playing much?
A little bit.
I saw you were crushing with Reanimator recently, so is that back on the menu? Never.
Yeah, I don't think it ever left the menu.
Cool.
I just haven't been streaming, so.
Yeah, fair enough. And what about you, Julian? Playing a lot?
Playing a lot more again, but I've also done like a lot of other things. Like I've been playing a lot of Brood War with Marcus and Tomasz. I think I might have already mentioned that on the last episode. Been looking into a couple other things. Kind of want to get like a better camera so I can do more like pre-recorded YouTube stuff, because the C920, once you go to full screen, it doesn't look that great, even though it's still like a decent camera. I actually played in the Lotus Box Legacy 1.5K yesterday, and I guess we will talk about that. Had a really good time there playing Esper Vial, which, oh my god, I'm kind of falling in love with the deck again. I feel like that's the one I want to touch.
Did you say Brood War? Tell me more.
Are we doing Everyday Brood War Eternal?
Everyday Brood War, yeah. That's actually kind of what I've been doing for a while. I actually haven't played in 2 days, but yeah, a couple of Legacy players have been just like randomly started playing Brood War again, and like we all suck, so if you want to come and like just join us and suck.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I will lurker the shit out of you.
I feel like I need to learn this myself to come along and just die for all of you. I'll give it a go as well.
Yeah, let's do that.
This sounds fun.
But seriously, Matt, have you played before?
Oh, I used to play Brood War a lot back in, I would say, early high school. I played a lot with my friends. But I haven't played regularly in over 10 years.
Yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing as well. Like we, let's not get too deep into how much we suck. We actually streamed it for like I think 2 times, and people tuned in, and I mean that was somewhat kind of embarrassing, but I kind of enjoyed it. So if you want to see more Brood War, let me know. Then I will actually end up streaming more of that more. But Callum, what have you been up to? Which old games that you shouldn't touch have you been playing again?
See, I didn't really play these old games, and now everyone's reminiscing about them. I kind of regret that.
Are you 20? Is that why? Were you born when these games came out? Or?
I'm 29 now, so...
Oh, okay.
I would have been around for them, but I was too busy being outside and being stupid and falling over and stuff. But
you can try doing that again.
I've been playing a lot of older MTG formats, though. Like, I've ordered loads of cards for pre-modern. We've been playing...
Pre-modern?
So into it. I think I ordered about 200 cards the other day or last week for pre-modern. I just want to own them. Like, I was going through the cards, or the mail order, and it's like looking at these things like Masticores and Spirit Mongers, and God, I just love all these old cards so much. So,
Wait, that is pre-modern? Like Masticore and Spirit Mongers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's basically old border constructed with no duels. That's basically the format.
So it goes all the way until like excluding Mirrodin.
Basically before 8th edition.
But like Force of Will is banned, and the ban list is pretty long. It's curated pretty well, I think. So like, there's no degenerate combo really. Like there are combo decks, very cool ones, but they are like there's like Drake Ultra of Dementia combo and stuff.
They're pretty bad. Let's be
exactly. So it's super cool, super fair. Like
Disenchant is a real card. It's a format where Disenchant is a real card.
Yeah, there's like Order of the Even Hands. So I've been getting super into that, and also playing Pre-Innistrad Legacy, which we've mentioned here on a couple of times. I've been playing that a lot. We just finished our second league, and I played Goblins in that, which was just so much fun to play old Goblins.
Where do you play that? Do you have like local leagues, or do you play that?
We've been playing over on MTGO through Twitch. So we have a Discord, which we'll link in the show notes. And so we're about to start the 3rd league. It's free to enter. There's no prizes because it's free, but it's really cool. We have like a bunch of pods, 4 or 5 pods. Then you play round robin between like 6 players. And then at the end of about 2 or 3 weeks where you have to play, then it's a top 8. And we've managed to stream all of the top 8s so far. So yeah, very cool stuff. Like definitely enjoying it. As I said, put it in the show notes. But yeah, that's what I've been doing, getting into older formats while Legacy's been going through some turbulent but kind of exciting times, and I've been playing that as well a bit. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this like Jund rock deck that I've built, and I am casting Birds of Paradise and trying to ramp into like Ravenous Baloths and Flametongue Cavus, and I get to play Recurring Nightmare with Deranged Hermit. It's basically all the things I want to do in Legacy but can't.
It's so cool. Like, I think I ordered cards for Oath, Rock, Madness, Tinker Prism. It's like one of those cool decks. There's just some... I could gush about it for ages.
Julian, how many cards did I order for Premodern?
I'm looking at the stack over there, and it's higher than my bookshelf. My bookshelf is not very high. It actually has a couple of tiers. But yeah, you ordered so much. Like, I if you want, I can post a picture of the cards that arrived. Like,
sounds good.
Yeah. And what I was wondering, like, can we actually talk about that? Because I find it super interesting how there's like this huge price difference between Europe and North America still. For example, like when we look at what's the one, Gilded Drake, that recently shot up again. In Europe, you can still get it like for 70 euros. Whereas on SCG and Channel Fireball, it's already sold out at like 140 plus. And I think that, like, was it Channel Fireball who had it for even more? So it looks to be like a $200 card soonish.
I didn't realize it was that high. Like, because it's played in competitive EDH, it's reserve list, and now it's played in Esper Vial. Like, I guess it's people are just realizing it's another potential card that's going to stay high. I wonder.
So I bought 3 yesterday, in case anyone's wondering.
I wonder who recommended those. But yeah, I do wonder, right? Like, we always talk about it, and I guess there's just like so much work that goes into that, so nobody's really setting that up. But if you could program a way for people to directly order from MKM to the States, I think you could actually make quite a bit of money, considering like the price difference, the arbitrage you can get from that.
I think the problem is the time right now, right? The time of not having the cards in your hands.
It's not too long to send over to the US. Like, I guess it depends who you use. Like, I've had some friends ask me to order a bunch of stuff. They get it sent to me and I send it through UPS, which I get better rates through work. And it ends up being about $25 to $30, I guess, and it gets through in 3 days. But I get cheaper rates. So I don't know, maybe it adds up as well, the postage, just getting it back over. But I've had a bunch of friends ask me to buy stuff and then send it over to them.
Well, obviously, the real answer is to buy a vacation home in Germany. You have it sent, and then your manservant at your German vacation home mails it with your UPS account to your other vacation home in Manhattan. And then, of course...
That makes so much more sense. And the money you save on MKM, you can just pay for that home with it.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, MTG finance talk.
Buy a house in Germany.
Yeah, there's beautiful villas in the mountains of southern Bavaria. So, Matt, if you ever want to like step up your game and get even deeper into the cross-Atlantic card trade, then maybe that's for you.
I could be tempted.
We can get an everyday Eternal House. I'm down. Anyway, so should we talk about this Lotus Box 1.5k that happened yesterday? I was pretty excited.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Julian, you played in it and you did pretty well. How did it go?
Yeah, I played the Esper Vial deck, and maybe like we give you guys a short idea of what Lotus Box is, because like when I told my friends here in Germany about the tournament, the first thing they asked me was like, wait, Wizards is releasing a Lotus Box? Is that like a Lotus reprint? So first of all, no. That would be kind of, imagine if they did that. Oh my God. Like if they unlimited Lotus sales. Anyway, so Lotus Box is a team on the American SCG circuit, but to me at least, they're really big, right? They're bigger than, I don't really know the other teams, but this one, they put a lot of work in. They partnered with Cardboard Live for this event. And yeah, they are producing a tournament through MTG Melee, which I used for the very first time ever. It's a website that basically TOs your tournament. Like it creates the pairings, it tells you what your opponent's account name is, you report your results there. You actually get a pop-up of the decklist because it's open decklist. And I think that's really, really cool. Like that we have something like that. Like if you look back, in other games, like I remember like in the early 2000s, even before that, like we had ESPL and stuff like that for like Counter-Strike, Quake, whatever, clan-based back then. And now we have MTG Melee that basically does what other games have been doing for 20 years. And I mean, that's not even meant as a dig at Magic, but more like as a, hey, we actually have that now, which is really kind of cool. And that worked really well. The prize payout was pretty steep, I want to say. We had like over 200 people. Anorak actually threw in an additional 500 to make it a 1.5k. And yeah, we only had payouts for the top 8, and I barely missed top 8. I went 7-2. I played Esper Vial, did really well, started out 6-1, and then in the penultimate round I lost to Yorio Bird Allurin, which is kind of wild. The match, they actually I rewatched it on the stream, and yeah, it's kind of complicated. I think at some point we had something like 40 permanents in play, if that's enough. And yeah, then won the last round against Eldrazi. I managed to beat so many Eldrazi decks along the way, and yeah, I'm finished I think in 14th place for unfortunately no payout after 9 hours, which is the only downside. But I'm pretty this is the first time they've done a legacy event like this. I would think they would adjust. Maybe the payout in the future, that would be something that makes sense. I know that you can earn leaderboard points, but I don't really know what they actually contribute to, so I don't really value them highly. But yeah, overall it's kind of cool. The stream, I only rewatched my matches, but from what I saw, commentators really really good. They were actually sitting in an actual studio.
Yeah, that's in their house as well. They have a Lotus Box house, so it's a very professional setting. And I think this is their I'm definitely going to be wrong here and people correct me, but I think it's their third, maybe fourth actual event they're doing in this setup. So like you said, I'm sure there were some other problems that I heard going on, so I'm sure they'll adjust as necessary. But it was really cool to have Legacy streaming all day. I missed this. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, somebody mentioned on Twitter that it actually evoked some kind of sense of community, which I find really cool, because that's actually what happened. Because we had I think 7, 8, or maybe even 10 people streaming, and that's basically it gives you the sense that an actual event is happening, when you can jump between streams. When my watch was done, I would go over to Anorak, see how he was doing, and overall that was just something's happening. When you play the Legacy Challenge, you usually don't have that many people streaming. I mean, that's also kind of an achievement of Lotus Box, because they invited a lot of streamers. For example, I got it in for free, but overall the payout was the buy-in wasn't that expensive, right? You either had to sub to them or become one of their Patreons, so it was kind of easy to enter. Yeah, so shoutouts to them, shoutouts to MTG Melee and Cardboard Live and Anorak for providing the money for the stream.
Huge shout out to Anorak.
Yeah,
he said he was pushing to get 100 subs, so yeah, you're right. It was $5 to enter essentially, because you enter by subbing to either his channel or to the Lotus Box channel. And yeah, he pushed it up, and he just was telling people about it, making people sign up, making people go. So he's partly to blame for the bad prizes. No, I'm completely joking. He really made the event bigger and stuff. So huge shout outs to Anurag for pushing it further.
Thanks.
So we could also give you guys the top 8. So this top 8 is kind of lame duck format, as much as you will call it, because in first place we had Gyruda. In second place we had Gyruda. So we had a Gyruda finals. So
reminds me of the Miracle finals of not too long ago.
Yeah. So especially because we had the announcement today on companions changing. So this is going to be the going to it. In third place we had Rug Delver. In fourth place we had D&T, just straight up D&T. There's been people playing Yorio and D&T, but this was normal. In fifth we had Blue Red Delver. In sixth we had Humans, very cool to see. Seventh we had it's labeled as Snow, but actually it's one of the Chase Punishing Thieves deck. So it's Yorio and Punishing Thieves. And in eighth place we had Hogak. So pretty diverse top 8, apart from the finals being Gyruda, which I think will probably change now, coming up soon. But otherwise we've got a couple of Delvers, we've got a D&T, got a Humans, and as I said, Control Deck and Hogak. Feels pretty like a classic top 8. What do you think?
I find it funny that we actually had those two Gyruda decks meet in the finals, because I honestly gotta say I didn't give that much respect to the deck. I played it was good, and obviously Bob won the PTQ with it. I just always felt like the deck isn't that good. The people are just misplaying against it. They don't know that they have to counter the LED if they expect Cavern of Souls or something. But yeah, after I stopped playing Esper Vial for a while and started playing other decks, I got crushed by Gyruda. I feel like Esper Vial is doing pretty well against it. We have a ton of free counters. We have we have 4 Swords of Plowshare. We have ways to deal with it. But when I played Elves, and I played in a league and I played against it 3 times with Elves, I was ready to throw the deck against the wall, or rather my keyboard or something.
The deck, it's as it is. As you said, Bob won the PTQ. It took a while to really take off, but it took someone building it very well, like he did, to really push it over the top. he moved the Grim Monolith to the sideboard, and like he realized what threats mattered and what threats didn't. So yeah, he really built it well, and it's showing now. I think it is very clearly one of the best decks until today, as we'll get to.
Yeah, the mid-range plan is surprisingly consistent, right? For a deck this powerful. Something I've actually enjoyed, I don't know if people do it like that, but something I've been doing when I played the deck is when I side out the LEDs, for example, against control, I bring in the Grim Monolith. Like you can actually do both, right? You can either play like a little more of a longer game by taking out the LEDs and playing Grim Monolith, or you can also just bring in the Grim Monolith, for example, for Chalices or for Thought-Knot CS in matchups where you don't need them to get even more speed. Which is like a kind of nice thing to do. So yeah, the way this deck is built, I really, really like. I think something Eric did was he replaced the Dragoned Out Kodagan with, what's it called? Sire of Insanity.
Yep.
I played that in a league and I really liked that. I didn't really feel like the haste was all that right. I mean, there's games where it's relevant, right? But overall, the Sire of Insanity won me a ton of games.
Yeah, the addition of the Dax duplicants also like added to the unnecessariness of the Dragon Lord, because we explained how the combo worked before, but if anyone unfamiliar with the actual like one-turn kill, is you play Garuda and it mills both players for 4. Then you hit a clone effect, which you then copy the Garuda, and so on, and it keeps replicating the enter the battlefield trigger. Now, if you hit a spark double, it doesn't carry over the legendary status of the Garuda, so you can keep then copying that spark double with more clones. And then once you get a Dax duplicant copying the spark double, that one has haste, and so you can then copy that spark double Dax duplicant wombo combo to get enough Gyrodas with haste that aren't legendary. So yeah, that's the next step. Like I think I saw people playing Dax duplicant at the very beginning, but I don't think people really realized how good it was with spark double and stuff. So that was good to see.
Yeah, and now it's gonna be gone, I guess. Yes. we talk about the Canadian change now, the companion change in a minute. But yeah, for the rest of the decks that we see here, is there anything that sticks out to you that you guys want to like talk about?
I mean, I'm looking at this Rock Delver deck, and it looks, I mean, depending on how long it's been since you played. So for me, again, being a little while, seeing Oko back into this deck is nice to see. I see Hooting Mandrills has kind of made a comeback. I noticed that there's the new-ish indestructible creature dude in the sideboard. I can't read his name.
Clothis.
Yeah. So what do they, like run me through what's going on there? What's the...
So we actually mentioned this card in the last podcast as we were like coming into a new metagame after Lurus's banned, saying this card's going to be one of the biggest performers, one of the most under-radar cards. And it's really for the snow matchup. So their removal is like, they don't have Council's Judgment or Exile opponent effects. So their removal is Source to Plowshares, which this card is never going to be a creature really. They have like Abrupt Decay and other destroy effects. So it's almost like you play it against the snow deck and then you don't even need to protect the queen, you just need to stay alive and it will eventually win. Yeah. So it's absolutely insane, this card, against snow control. So
it's basically an unremovable sulfuric vortex, like a one-sided sulfuric vortex that also gains you life. Like it's broken in that regard.
Yeah, it's really insane. So it's really for the snow control matchup, as I was saying, but it's just that good in a bad matchup, I'd say. So it makes sense.
Well, I like it.
It's a very cool card as well. So yeah, apart from that, nothing else stood out to me too much. It was almost like refreshing to see such a pretty cool, fairly diverse. As I said, there was 2 Delvers, classic D&T, which we haven't seen put up in a result in a very long time. Humans, I think that deck is better than people still give it credit for. Good to see it get a result. And Hogak, which one of my little loves. I still feel like it's struggling in today's Legacy format, slightly underpowered, too many bad matchups, but it definitely beats blue deck sometimes. So,
but is it really that bad? Because like the thing about Hogak always to me is that deck is scary. Like that deck is scarier to me than Dredge, because like Dredge has ways to deal with hate. Hogak feels like it's much better at playing around hate, and like it comes at you with almost the same kind of clock, unless Dredge gets like a super busted hand. But that kind of hand is also like sometimes stopped by just a single force of will. Whereas this one, it hits you like a truck full of zombies. I mean, that's something, right?
yeah, zombies and plants and God knows what. It doesn't have the same explosiveness as Dredge. Like it can have, like, it's technically possible to kill on turn 2 in the God Hand, but turn 3 combo kills with Alter Dementia are not too rare. But like Dredge does it like by playing 4 therapies as well. And Dredge is definitely more explosive, and yeah, Hogak just still needs these key cards to resolve. Like, you mulligan very aggressively to a Hedron Crab or a Citrus Supplier and something, and a Well-Timed Force can still kind of like mess you up. So
yeah, but do you know how bad it feels to force to fill a Hedron Crab?
No, it should feel great. That card is broken. Hedron Crab
Too good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that card is so good. It's like every landfall is like draw 1 to 2 cards.
I mean, I would love to put together a competitive mill deck for Legacy right now. That would be my dream.
I mean, you can play Garuda. Like, Garuda can actually mill out the opponent. I've seen that a couple of times because, like, it mills both players, so you can basically get both players down to 0 cards, and then you don't even need to attack. You can just pass the turn, or you can actually destroy your own Thought-Knot Seer and make them draw a card. I've seen that before.
Yeah, so you can mill them out and then attack them with like 200 power of flailing tentacles.
Ugh.
I know you like that, Matt. I've seen your computer. That wasn't a sound of disgust. I know it.
So, the companion change.
Yeah, so talking of Garuda, today we had a big announcement. Again, we had one recently, didn't we? And now it feels like so soon again. So why don't you tell us what they announced?
New companion rule. Once per game. Anytime you could cast a sorcery during your main phase when the stack is empty, you can pay 3 generic mana to put your companion from your sideboard into your hand. This is a special action, not an activated ability.
I'm so disappointed that they called it the sideboard and the companion, not the Pokemon and the Pokeball, because that's spot on.
So this makes them quite a bit worse. So
yeah, I think with regards to Legacy, I think it kills. Okay, let's say it kills most of them because honestly, like most of them were borderline playable anyway. Like, is anybody gonna play 8 mana to play that 5/5 vanilla? Basically, Jakarta or whatever. Jakarta is. I think it's the capital of Indonesia or something. I don't know, but I think Yorion will still be around. People like, but the thing is like. Most people were already kind of down on Yorion. Like, I mean, you have guys like Anorak who didn't even play Yorion. He played like lands or something. Maybe he also had Yorion on there, but that would surprise me in the Lotus Box tournament. And
he did actually have Yorion.
Like when he did have Yorion?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that's one of the decks that will be
the addiction.
With Yorion. We can. Yeah, he was playing 80 card Yorion lands something.
Oh, Jesus.
Seems pretty good.
I was thinking about 80 card Nickfit, but I could just play 80 card Nickfit instead of playing Yorion. So, I mean, whatever works for you.
I need to link you some lists from this player called Solnox who's been winning. He's got 5-0s with 110 card Nickfit.
Oh, Jesus.
110 card. He basically brought almost 2 decks to the tournament.
Basically, he thought 80 cards was boring.
Like, and my ex-girlfriends say, I can't make up my mind.
It's more like, wait, I've got an answer for that. Green Sun Zenith 4, hold on a second. And
yeah, good luck even drawing your Green Sun Sun in the first place. I like how like Nick fit a deck that tries to abuse a very specific card. Veteran Explorer goes up to like 110 cards, and it's like, yeah, whatever. You know what? When I see and when I hear stuff like that, and also when we have like Yorion, I really, really want a super dedicated, aggressive aggro deck to come back and just like take advantage of them struggling, paying mana for Astrolabe, for Ponder.
Then Zoo just comes back and...
Yeah, but Zoo is like slower than Delver some of the time, even like...
Humans is the deck you're looking for here.
Yeah, you might actually be right, but also Eldrazi, I guess.
Yeah. But let me just finish the story. So he 5-0'd with 80 card Nick Fit. And no, sorry, not 80 card, because that's normal with Yorion. He 5-0'd with 100 card Nick Fit. And his first thing to do wasn't like, say, this is amazing, I did this, blah, blah. It was to add 10 more cards.
He's like, I can go bigger.
He's just like, I'm going to add 10 more cards every time I 5-0 with this until something happens. And so recently he's been playing 120 card Yorio Nick Fit, and it's something, right?
You know what it reminds me of? That reminds me of that game, that Japanese game. It's called like We Love Katamari, where you're playing like as a ball and the ball is sticky.
It's always rolling up. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you roll around the world and everything sticks to the ball. And like first off, you're like just like as big as a football, and then you keep growing and suddenly you become like as big as a car, as a skyscraper, as a city, until you eventually like your goal, I guess, is to absorb everything, like all.
So I guess that's going to be our end music now.
I don't know this game, but it sounds just like what he's doing.
It sounds very Japanese, right? I want to see speedruns of that game.
Sounds great. What were we talking about now? We were talking about Yorion and Yorion lands, as we were saying.
Yeah, we were talking about how I think this puts Yorion over the edge with regards to unplayability. Because, like, you know this, like, we talk about this every day. Like, is Yorion really going to be a thing still? Or are people just going to play, like, 60 cards now and ignore Yorion and stuff? And a lot of people seem to be kind of down on Yorion. And now, I think it's not that, right? It's still, like, flying around somewhere there in the sky because you can still use it, especially in decks that really want to go late, like, that don't really care about the extra 3 mana. But overall,
there's quite a lot of them. I think like this lands deck that you mentioned that Anurag was playing is an example of a deck that could be playing it. I still feel like we haven't had enough time even before this change to really understand which version of Snow was better. Like my gut was saying Yorion Snow was a bit better, but it wasn't like a proven thing or something that people knew for sure. So now with this change coming in, obviously it's a lot worse. But I feel like 3 mana for these kind of decks, like these decks are not using their mana turn 5 to play Yorion very often.
Yeah.
So they're still removing threats, or they're like pulling ahead with an Oko or Uro. They're casting Uro very often on that turn. I think the cost of 3 mana is not very high, and I think Yorion is the companion that loses the least, at least, from all these things.
Yeah. You make an interesting point about the Lance deck, for example. Also, I want to say the Bird Alluran deck that I lost to. That's also the kind of deck where I think they would still keep playing Yorion, because if you watch the match, like those games go really, really late. They have like 10 plus lands in play. I think that the Snow decks, like the Snow decks as we know them right now, they don't have enough inevitability that they would really want the games to go that long to then abuse Yorion. I mean, I could be wrong. Like, this is not like a super strong opinion I hold, but I feel like the 60 card Snow deck as it's constructed right now should be what it is. And then if you want to like make a Yorion deck out of it, you probably would need to make some structural changes.
Yeah, I think this is a very easy like answer to a lot of these kind of questions we have, but it really does depend on how the metagame shakes out. Like we've seen, I don't know who's been like paying super close attention to the challenges and stuff, but there's been a lot of combo. And like, well, again, Garuda coming first and second is proof, although that deck is changing. I've been seeing a lot of combo coming out, and like, there's always a little bit more combo in the leagues than there is in bigger tournaments. But combo is just good against the Snow decks, especially if you either go under them or you can go over them in a sense with Veil of Summer, Defense Grid, or that kind of thing. So if people keep playing these combo decks to combat Snow, I think you don't want to be playing this extra 20 cards, especially now. Especially when your payoff costs extra mana. Like, that's not where you want to be. But if the metagame shakes out to being more Delver or especially more mid-range, as we talked about last time about the Snow decks, if you go into a mirror and you don't have Yorion and your opponent does, you will be very happy to pay that 3 mana to have this trump
True.
in a mirror. So it's going to really depend what people pick up in the end of this. It's really hard to tell, actually. So
we'll just have to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I always feel like it takes like not only like a couple of weeks, it usually takes like a month or two for an untouched metagame to really shape out in a certain way. I mean, we run this podcast to make predictions, to give our thoughts about stuff, and that's basically part of the process, right? Of forming an opinion and seeing what, like, we're basically throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks, so you don't have to if you. I mean,
figure in every single pie, and you'll eventually get something right.
Yeah, basically, and yeah, I do wonder. I hope it doesn't get to a point where it's basically you either play Snow with or without Yorion, and if you don't have it and you run to the mirror, then you're screwed. Because that's always a bit of a feel bad. Like you want people to be able to play it. It's just like sometimes I see them play the 5th color for Pyroblast, and I feel like this is so degenerate. But in the mirror, like if you have the 5th color, like they don't really punish mana bases at all, except for like the dual mana bases, back to basics, I guess. But in the mirror, if you have Yorion and Pyroblast and the other guy get neither, like good luck. Like you can't even like draw them out with like a quick draw. Like what are you gonna do? Like play a 1/1 on turn 2 and 3? Like good luck.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Pyroblast is actually a very low cost in these decks. You can play 1 Volcanic, and then you have Astrolabes and stuff. Even if you're playing 60 card. Well, I guess they already play 4 color, no red very often as well. It's like Bug, Splash, Source to Plowshares. So yeah, I mean, I still think it's a pretty low cost just to have a Volcanic Island and then have such a huge edge with Pyroblasts. And I wonder if Pyroblast 60 card Yorion beats 80 card no Pyroblast Yorion.
I would think so. Like if you have like 1 Pyroblast main, 3 sideboard, maybe even like 4 sideboard. Like people play a lot of Pyroblast. It was the most played. Man, I tweet way too much. There it is. So the most sideboarded cards in the Legacy 1.5K of the Lotus Box League if you combine Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast, which for the sake of this question we probably should, that's 184 copies of sideboard space of all participants. 184, and the second most played card is Surgical Extraction at 146. And I think for a long, long time, like Surgical Extraction was always the most played sideboard card, and that's quite the lead. They have
being so high really surprised me as well, because it seems just not very good right now. It's not good against Garuda, so that's interesting. But it's still a pretty big lead for Pyroblast. So yeah. Just out of interest, we also have Veil of Summer, like 133 copies. And then in fourth place, Leyline of the Void, 112. Mindbag Trap at 99 copies. Mindbag Trap is seeing a lot more play, and I think that's also because of Garuda, right? Mindbag Trap was always that thing you could add if you wanted to in special kind of decks, but most people didn't. But against Garuda, it's one of your best bets. It
seems pretty darn good.
Played.
It's also played in Garuda, so maybe that inflated the numbers.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised by the graveyard hate people chose, because, as I said, they have Leylines and Surgicals, and they just don't line up with the format currently. Like, Reanimator is around, but I don't know, I think you need, like, something that crosses over with Fair, potentially, like Nihil Spellbomb or something. But, like, these cards are not how you beat the graveyard decks right now, which was Garuda. I don't know. You need Grafdigger's Cage, in my opinion.
Also, Abrupt Decay was the 8th or 7th, depending on how you count, most played sideboard card at 59 copies. Yeah. This is basically the only, like, less dedicated card. Like, all the other cards, like Mindbug Trap, Grafdigger's Cage, Leyline, Surgical, Whale, Pyroblast, they always have something very specific in mind that they want to target. And that's either the Graveyard, Combo, or Blue. I guess those are always like the three things that you have to balance, right? And then Abrupt Decay is just it speaks a lot about how generally applicable Abrupt Decay is. But yeah,
my read of that is Hogak was very popular, because there's not many other decks that play decays in the sideboard, I think.
There's Elves.
Elves. Oh yeah, I've heard of that one. Okay. No, I've heard about Elves. Fair enough. So Hogak, Elves, Reanimator. Forgotten there. So okay, it's interesting that it's so high then, because I think Hogak has always been quite popular in the kind of SCG grinder like sub game, because a lot of the best players are perceived to pick up blue decks because they're the most consistent, and then Hogak's meant to beat them. So I can see it. Yeah,
to have like one last comment on Hogak is something I really appreciate, and I think a lot of other people do that as well. It's very, very punishing on anybody that struggles. Like, your opponent walks into the match, and then like after the first turn they like, when you're like, I need this to go right for me, like Hogak is the one that comes in and like hits you in the face and steals your cards and reports to the judge. Like Hogak is insane at punishing people that struggle. Just like, how good Canadian threshold draws are, like they also like struggle you really hard. Struggle? No. They punish you really hard.
Yeah, it's those hands where you're like, let's see how this goes. Maybe I should mulligan. Let's just see what happens. And then you just get Stifle, Wasteland, Lightning Bolt your mana producing guy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you die on turn 3 to like a bunch of zombies. I can't stress how much I appreciate. Like, Nietzsche would be proud of that. Like that Hogak is the kind of deck that Nietzsche would play. Like that's like, there's a complete, like, there would probably like a different episode, like which deck would philosophers play, but yeah, Hogak is a Nietzsche deck.
Yeah. God, you're very aggressive with decks, aren't you, Julian? I've never really noticed it till now, but you're like, I just want people punished. I want them to get crushed for their greed.
Maybe that's a very common theme for me. I don't know, like I hate it when people try to cut corners and be like, I could add Gifts and Given to my control deck. Like, yeah, you're gonna die because Steplinks is gonna attack you for 4 in the second turn.
Such a very German thing. It's like, everyone else, when they cut corners, you have to do it the right way, the German way.
The right corner is the 4 attack power on turn 2 or whatever.
Yeah, that's also what you do, like, as a German, when before you stifle somebody, you say, just like you did. No,
yeah, somebody cracks their fetch line, puts in the graveyard, picks up their library, and you're like, wait a second. Excuse me.
It's also what I do in Cube. I think especially like once Cube started becoming big, we played a lot of Cube locally. I would always play the Fun Police, like the red deck, because people just picked, like they would first pick like Factor Fiction and, like I mentioned, Gifts Ungiven, all the cute shit and Primeval Titan, and they just want to cast it. And I don't know, man. You have to do something. You have to play Magic. Like, if you want to just slam your haymakers and your bombs and blow me out that way, that's not Magic to me. I don't know.
That's
I
EDH.
want to be like.
I feel like every time I play Cube, that red deck builds itself because you draft and you're like, wait, nobody's taking Flame Tongue Kavu? Okay, I guess I'll take
For
it.
good reason. Well, Flame Tongue Over is a mid-range card. That's okay. But
you know what I mean? Like, those cards come around and you're like, this deck is just building itself. Okay, fine.
it's true. But that's we could go into a Cube cast. But my hate for mono red and Cube is
Oh, really?
that way.
Then it's doing something right if you hate it.
It's true.
That's definitely who I am as a player. That's why I always liked. I like Deva strategies. I like strategies that punish opponents who don't understand their role in the matchup, and especially their shifting role in the matchup, which is like why I like Elf so much. And now with Esper control, I think people don't even understand anything. Okay, that's honestly, I didn't mean to be like condescending. Like, I don't even understand the deck very well. I understand it better than I used to like a month ago, but I still don't even understand it enough to even make like a single change to the deck list that Jeff gives me.
On paper, you're just like, wow, this is like, you can see the obvious synergies like Soul Herder plus Crucial of the Guard. God, there's a lot of 1/1s in this deck and 2/2s and just like little scrappy cards. And that's the secret why it's good against snow, is there's nothing that the removal is good against apart from like Soul Herder maybe. Like, you kill it with the scraps. You both go into a big feast, you start having a meal together, and then in the end of it, there's just scraps on the table, and that's what you use to kill your snow opponents.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Jeff called it the tutor network, which I find is an amazing way to describe the deck, because everything slots into everything. Like, you get Recruiter of the Guard going, and then you just go crazy. Then, like, you can get Soul Herder for recurring triggers. Then Recruiter of the Guard finds you either, like, Spell Seeker if you need removal, or you can find, like, Meddling Mage if you want to stop something proactively. You can find Gilded Drake if you want some other kind of removal, or just steal your opponent's stuff. If you want some better card selection, you get, like, Charming Prince or even, like, Baleful Strix right away. But why would you even need card selection? You already have the tutor engine anyway. This deck it's the boa constrictor that you don't see coming. Like, it comes into the game, it slowly closes things out, and you don't even understand why, because like this is just like a weenie creature deck. Like, how is that even possible? But something that also like against Snow, for example, something that happens a lot is you go Recruiter of the Guard into Recruiter of the Guard into Recruiter of the Guard, because what are they gonna do about that? Block with their 1/1 Death Touch, or like make it a 3/3, be my guest, right?
And they do as well. They have to block with the Strixes and stuff. It's great. Like, I've played it twice now, so very small sample size. I played it in one challenge where I just lost to Dredge twice, and I beat 2 snow decks on the way. And yeah, I recruited in one game, and they just like didn't have anything going on. And then they like start making some melts with an Oko, but you flicker them out and stuff, and yeah, you just do all the cool things.
Yeah, and that's also what goes back to like how Snow lacks inevitability. Like, sometimes you have other control decks. Like, that's also part of why I struggle to call it like a control deck, but that's a different episode. Like, I talked about nomenclature in one of our chats, I think. But it doesn't really have that thing where it goes like Morphling kill you, Entreat the Angels kill you. It just goes like, okay, I have like this 1/1 and this 3/3. Oh, and I have this 6/6, but it also doesn't really do anything other than like draw more cards and gain life. And I mean, not that Uro's a bad card, but we have the tools to beat that. Like, Gilded. Have you ever like Gilded Draked in Uro? Pretty good.
I hope so one day. I mean, it looks crazy. Well, a little correction on what you were saying just now. You said tutoring up Gilded Drake. You can't quite do that. So this is why you 3 in Jeff's sideboards.
That's true.
But
that's true.
Other than that, every single thing is tutorable, which is just crazy. Like, you just have so much selection at your hands, and like the weird thing was he's been playing 2 Ponder up until recently, and we were having this discussion about Ponder feels clunky. It's so weird to say in a deck full of 3-mana 1/1s, but you just don't need that selection because you have so much available at your hands. It's good to hit your land drops, or like find a vial earlier, but I think he was saying he's going to cut them as well. So it's a really weird way to look at the deck in a way that Ponder is. It doesn't sound right, too slow, but yeah, interesting.
It doesn't. You know, the thing about Ponder is it doesn't really contribute to doing something, and this deck can use its mana pretty well on every single turn. Like, you know, the concept of a Sly deck. Like, people associate Sly with like mono red burn, but it's really like the concept of using your mana for good, for the sake of humanity, every single, like, for your own good, every single turn, yeah. And I mean, this isn't exactly a Sly deck, but it kind of is.
Yeah, I guess I can see the comparison, because Sly is about curving out, right? Like attacking with creatures, getting the damage in, finishing it with burn. Whereas here, Ponder takes you off curve. You're not playing your creatures on curve, which is where they're more effective as well. And there's a very like creatures start at 2 and 3 mana and they go up, and then at 5 mana you have Recruiter for Charming Prince or Baleful Strix. At 6 mana, you have Recruiter for Soul Herder, and like your curve really just like scales with the amount of mana you have available to you, rather than you play a card and that's your turn done kind of thing. So there's so much agency available to it.
I just like how much this deck really exploits that. I keep going back to snow. Maybe I really have like a problem with snow in my head. Like I gotta talk to somebody about that. I mean, that's why I'm here, right?
Not really control.
Yeah, that's basically my thing, right? That's my tagline. Snow is not control. It really abuses Snow's inability to like beat stuff that does things differently, and Esper Vial does things very differently. It has insane card advantage. That card advantage is tied to like a bunch of random shit, but it works, and that's just the thing of beauty, and that's why I enjoy the deck so much. And yeah, even Unearth is just like one single black mana, and you can.
I love that card so much.
Yeah, you can even do that off the Spellseeker, and it just like gets you straight into your engine. If you ever like lose your Recruiters, your Soul Herders, whatever, it just like makes it keep. I wish it could also get back Palace Jailer and Wenzer, but I mean the card is already broken. You don't need to break it even further.
Palace Jailer is the card that holds the whole engine and late game together as well. Like that card is absolutely insane, and it's seen a lot of play in Legacy, like especially Death and Taxes, and people have played it in Miracles to an extent, Stoneblade. But I still feel like it should be played more. Like it's better than Jace the Mind Sculptor a lot of the time. It's so powerful. Like, it's crazy to think about. It can be bad against some strategies. It's pretty bad against Icefang Quattle and Baleful Strix and stuff. And Trinum Nemesis has been a bit out of the limelight, but it was very bad against that. But otherwise, yeah, just now, rather than having to play two of them or something and cantrip into it, now you can just like Recruiter for it, and Esper Vial completely gums up the board as well, so it's very hard to get through.
Yeah.
To steal the Monarch.
Something I also really like, and we are talking like about minor tactics, not about overall strategy now, but Gilded Drake, when you use it, it goes to your opponent's side of the board, and then Charming Prince, like that's something I learned in the tournament. Charming Prince flickers one of your cards, and when we usually say that, it means cards or creatures we control. But for some reason that only the designers of Throne of Eldraine understand, it must have been a theme there, Charming Prince actually flickers a creature you own, not a creature you control. It took me like over a month to actually get that. So you can use Gilded Drake, steal your opponent's Uro, then you bring in Charming Prince, you flicker the Gilded Drake on the other side of the board. It comes back on your side, steals another creature, and then goes back to the other side, ready to be used again. Like then you have like Soul Herder and Charming Prince. Like the inevitability that you can build with this deck is insane.
I didn't really understand the Gilded Drake at first, but you can also like Teferi -3 it, where you can Flicker Whispered as well, has the same clause as Charming Prince.
You can Wenzer it, yeah, there's so many ways you can go about that. And this deck is really good at also like shutting down random 3/3s, even though like in the 1.5k I played, damn you Anorak, why did you have to add the 500? It's so awkward to say 1.5k. In the tournament I played, I struggled quite a bit against Gilded Drake, but overall, I mean, there's a reason the card is so expensive, and I guess on top of that, there's also that stupid speculation, I guess, that goes about it. But the card is really good. I don't know, maybe we as a format in general have been sleeping on the card almost. The thing is, in the past, control decks didn't really use like creatures you want to steal. Like, what are you going to Gilded Drake? Like a Snapcaster Mage, like a Vendilion Click? But now that they have...
Or Trinity Nemesis, like you're not going to... doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I feel like that card was just the only time when you were using that back in the day was basically with like Sneak and Show and stuff, right? Where you'd like maybe they'd have to show and tell in their, I don't know, Emrakul or whatever, and you'd be like, I got you with the Gilded Drake, and it's like, then we went away from that, right?
Yeah, I think I've only seen until now with Esper Vial, I think I only ever saw it in sideboards of like Burn and Goblins and some other tribal decks as like, haha, gotcha against Show and Tell. Like, that's it.
Yeah, Goblins, I've actually seen it in the past, that's true. But yeah, it pretty much fell out of favor once we got Omniscience, right, in 2000. I want to say 12. That's the one where I tore my ACL. It must be 12.
12 or 13. Yeah,
12, 13.
Right. Too long ago.
Yeah.
Slightly veering back onto topic to a bit, how do you think Esper Vial is positioned now with the companion change?
Okay, since I already emptied my glass of wine and I'm ready to add a little bit more, it's the best deck ever created in the history of mankind. Like, forget about tricks, forget about Necro, Forget about the Academy deck. All of decks bow before the mighty charming prince and his friends.
This is some crazy praise.
No, seriously, like I think this is one of the best decks in the format. I can't get myself to call it the best deck in the format because I don't really feel like Legacy is in a spot right now where anybody can really make that call. But if you ask me whether it's tier 1, it's very much tier 1. And part of that is that people still don't understand it well, like even the people playing it. At least I guess Jeff understands it. Like it rarely happens that I talk to somebody whom I learn that much from than I do learn from Jeff when he talks about the deck. And
I've tried to just watch all his streams and try and take everything in. Like he says to bring in Gilded Drake against Control, and then I just thought that sounds crazy to me. I don't understand it. And then watching him stream, he starts like Vial them in, stealing a Leovold in response to them brainstorming, and like taking Uro as you said. And
wait, he stole Leovold in response to our brainstorm. That guy's a master. Yeah. Okay, I gotta drink one more glass on him.
Like that was a crazy. I think it might be in a ponder actually. Now I'm thinking back.
I can even imagine like how it would work out, right? Sorry to interrupt you there. He would just sit there and the opponent would play brainstorm and he would like a killer, like cold-heartedly. He would just be like, yeah. Let me activate my wire. And then he would do that and the opponent would be like rage in front of their computer. That's what the deck sometimes does to you.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So, yeah, I mean, I think I agree with your summary. It's super powerful deck and I still feel like I don't understand it well enough and I want to play it more. You've been playing it a lot and you're saying you don't understand it fully. I think people are starting to really understand it to like first level like stuff. And like when you play a recruiter in the past, they'll have no idea what you're getting. But now the lists become fairly stock and they can be aware that Gilded Drake is part of the deck. And you have a Venser, you have a Palace Jailer and things like that. So I don't know how much this will affect it. Like there are some cards that are very good against it. A well-timed Plague Engineer can be good. But as you were saying, Jeff thinks about this deck so deep. I've asked him about a weakness against Plague Engineer, and he said, well, I've tried to separate all the creature types as like spread thinly as possible to mitigate the power of that card against the deck and stuff. So these are the kind of things he really considers, which is quite impressive.
Humility,
yeah. If you had a time machine, maybe.
Yeah, Humility is going to destroy this deck. I guess you can either counter it with a Force of Will or to Fairy bounce it, but yeah, Humility is going to be good.
Does Humility actually have a spot in Legacy right now? That's actually interesting. Like, if you imagine you brought it in against Snow, that would probably not be great because they could still get like 3/3s and also like just have Planeswalkers and somehow win that way.
I think there's going to be a decent amount of combo to combat Snow as well. So maybe as a sideboard option, like it is going to be a very good card. Like you could even play Torpor Orb. I found Khan the Great Creator to be very good against Esper Vial. Like, you get a lot of creatures down and you can attack it, but if you can lock that out and then turn off the vials as well, maybe you can have Calm with a Torpor Orb in the sideboard so you can't, like, Flicker Wisp stuff.
Dude, as soon as you mentioned Torpor Orb, my eyes went wide open because we are so soft to Torpor Orb.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I, like, talked to Jeff about and I feel like we can't remove artifacts or enchantments very well. Like, we have Teferi, we have Venser, and after sideboarding we have Act of Authority. If I really lose, I either lose to, okay, I guess Yorio and Bird Alluren. No disrespect to my opponent. That deck was really sweet. I really like that deck. They ended up, I think, not making top 8. They fell just short in the last round. But yeah, of the more commonly played decks, like anything using Chitte, which already isn't that much used anymore, which I guess also explains why this deck is so good. But yeah, if the opponent gets a Chitte online, it's sometimes really quite hard for me to come back.
Yeah, Stoneforge has been out of the format for a bit, but I can definitely see Chitte plus True Name, kind of classic blue-white Stoneblade being
like Esper Blade or Stoneblade, yeah. I mean, now that you said Torpor Orb and trouble removing artifacts, I was like, time to dust off my Dreadstill deck and give it a...
There's have you seen Shark Typhoon?
Is it a movie or is that a deck?
Funny you should mention it, but yes, I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that card is fantastic with Standstill.
There's a few people in the Dreadstill thread who are like, we should be playing for Sharknado or whatever it's called.
It's cool. I had a friend, Nicholas Holdman, say he bought some from Harry Yu, and he's like, Callum, you have to make a deck with it now. And I think he messaged me like 4 times within a week or two saying, where's my deck? Where's my deck? And I was like, hey, fine, sorry, I'm being really slow. So I made it, posted it to Twitter, and then a friend of ours, Thomas Mechin, like the next day said, "Oh, I 5-0'd with it. Seems really cool." It's probably not very good, not as good as traditional Control, but there was.
Well, it was good enough to beat me along the way.
Oh, he beat you, didn't he? Yeah. Oh, it's a pretty easy league then.
Yeah, not that says much, right?
Yeah.
You know what I like? I like that Matt actually mentioned in the thread. Like, Matt is one of the few last people still going through the source as opposed to using Discords.
You damn kids and your Discords.
Yeah, I don't think it's because Discord is necessarily better. It's not a better platform per se. It's just the discussions really died down on the source, so it's a combination of everyone kind of dropping off. And I read it at work today. I still browse the source at least 2 times a week and read stuff. But
oh, you do?
Yeah, I'm still interested in it. I kind of have this really strong love for the site still. I kind
of, same for me, dude. Same for me. Like, I still use the source playmat, right? I just feel like it's maybe the biggest influence in the history of Legacy on Legacy as a whole. Okay. People could argue, okay, if the source hadn't existed, then maybe some other website had existed. Yeah, but that's the website that everybody used forever. And it's so cool that it's still around. And I wish, like, you know, there was a way for it to become more relevant again. Because, like, people still use forums. Like, if I go to, I guess, Team Liquid, that's always the thing I compare Magic to, because I want Magic to have a Team Liquid website. But yeah, people still use it. Like, it's just like something I'm thinking about. I kind of want a way implemented for the source to become more relevant and in the forefront of everybody again.
I mean, I can totally see myself getting hoisted on pitchforks here and just thrown to the lions, but it could migrate to Discord. You'd have the same people talking, but I realize there's a lot of kind of purists, I don't know if that's the right word, that is the place and it should always stay there.
Yeah, technically, if you made all the threads Discord channels, that it would basically somewhat operate the same. The thing is, in a forum, you always feel there goes more effort into actually posting something as opposed to typing up 5 short messages on.
That's what I miss from, like, on Discord. I make a big effort to make longer posts usually, but it's definitely not the norm. So yeah. I do miss a lot about the source. So.
Well, we can change it. I mean, I'm going to still keep posting, right? And people are going to tell me, did you check the Discord? And I'll say, fuck you, you young whippersnappers.
Dude, we have our own Discord. I just did a lot of work on our Patreon to unify my own Discord and our Discord.
So fuck the Everyday Eternal Discord?
Matt is legally not allowed to enter any kind of social thingies because of his status in the military. Maybe you could, like, use your wife's account or something.
I guess I could, but...
Yeah, so yeah, that's just the thing about the source. I'm glad it's still around. It's the people behind it. They're still working on it. I mean, I'm also a moderator. Every once in a while when I get an email about, like, a thread, I do remove stuff. But they also added new moderators, and it's good to see it keeping on existing. And
shout out to the people moderating it still and posting on there. Like, I do feel bad for not chatting more. Like I said, I really do love the place. So yeah, we should make an effort to post more there as well.
Matt, when are we going to see you back on the dance floor? When are you going to play Legacy again?
I'm waiting for a Paper Legacy tournament. I know we've been talking about maybe getting into Magic Online, and I was just like, it's really about the fun of sitting around with a bunch of my friends and
Dude, you have no idea how much fun it is to stream. Like, the one time we wanted to stream when you were at my place in Europe, you remember how you fell asleep right before the stream started?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
He did it on purpose. We know.
No, it was the most miserable thing in my entire life, seriously. That was so bad. It was 11:30 in the evening, and Matt was like, no, let's do streaming. Because I guess you had never streamed or something. And I was like, can we just go to bed? He was, no, let's stream, okay. What should we stream? And then Matt picks the deck I single-handedly hate the most. And not for power level, just how it plays, and that's Chunt. And he tells me, no, this is great. And then it takes me half an hour to put together the deck, because back then we didn't have card holder yet and stuff. And I'm like, hey, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? And then Matt is sitting on my couch and I'm sitting on my computer. And then I start the stream and I play this super miserable deck that I don't enjoy at all. Like, I look around at some point and like, Matt is just asleep and snoring. I'm like, fuck, I still have to keep going with this. Like,
amazing.
Yeah, I still have it saved at Matt's Wet Dream because he was so insistent on, like, playing the deck because it's so great. But dude.
I want to watch this.
It's probably not a highlight on my stream. I have to warn you. It was probably lost to time.
Yeah, it probably is. So, are we excited to work on any particular decks going into this next little while?
I bet Callum is always working on something.
Yeah, I hope so. I want to find something. I'm still pretty high on Esper Vial, but we've talked about a lot this podcast and the last one. I mean, the last few decks I've kind of worked on or helped make because the of one mind Grixis thing when Delver was good because removal's good against Delver. Previously, when Snow was good, there was like the Primeval Titan deck. So I feel like something like that could come back again. We need some more time to see what starts like performing the best and stuff. And then, yeah, nothing's like clicking in my head.
I'm definitely excited to keep, now that like Luris and all this is gone, I really wanted to get back to Enchantress because I thought I really enjoyed playing the deck. And I think it's very powerful. And there's something about activating your Destiny Spinner land and like swinging. And they're like, okay, so what am I? Oh, it's like, oh, wait, it has haste. And it's like, well, it has trample. And people don't really understand the interaction. They're like, okay, Destiny Spinner, yeah, whatever. And then you play Sterling Grove, and they're like, okay. And then they're like, okay, swords, and they're like, no, it's actually protected. And like, oh, no, you can't counter this now. Oh, I just played Humility, or not Humility, but you play something else, and they're just like, oh my god, what the hell is going on?
Tap Sarah Sanctum and a Wild Growth and a Forest. Here's 3 10/10s.
Exactly, yeah. And then they're just like, okay, and then they've got their Oko, and they're fumbling around with these Elk, and you're like, okay, I'm swinging for 22 with trample at you, and they're just insane. Like, fuck.
There has been a build recently with Yorio and with Reality Acid. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, don't remind. Guys, do we have to do this tonight? Like, you keep talking about all the decks that destroyed me. I recently had a stream where, like, the guy was, like, reality assetting all my lands and it came back to the hand every time. Like, what the
Matt,
fuck?
Don't show him the list of all the decks he's lose to. We have it to the side, though.
I have a tendency to lose to like, shit decks. Like, come on.
Not a shit deck.
I almost was going to mention a deck that I actually really like. That
you mean it's like round 1 or 2 of a GP, right? You're like, okay, I'm prepared for everybody, and then somebody shows up and you're like, Affinity? What the fuck? Like, I wasn't expecting you. And then you just get rolled.
I've never been of the kind who was like, oh, I just need the 2 buys, so I don't have that. I find that so incredibly condescending when people are like, oh, I won't play my tagged out Delver list because I don't have buys, and I might run into a deck that plays all Ravenous Ballad and stuff. Dude, Delver is not only good because it beats like the crap, Delver also is decent at beating the non-crap, and I hate that. I hate, that attitude, right? When people are like, oh, no, I don't have buys. I'm so sorry, I can't play my sophisticated deck.
No,
like, yeah.
But it's the best when you're that shit pile that somebody plays against. They're like, oh, yeah, I brought my tech, and you're just like, Siege Rhino, recurring now, you're Siege Rhino.
I was going to say, you might know something about that.
And they're just like, what did I do? And then when they quit the tournament, you've won because you just outgrind them.
Has Siege Rhino ever won a tournament outside of Standard?
I mean, I've done local tournaments, but that doesn't count.
Here's a quick perfect story for this thing. I was GP Birmingham, I guess 3-ish years ago, and I was playing Miracles. This was after Top got banned, and I had 1 buy from Planeswalker Points. And then the day before, friends were playing in the trials, and they said, "Are you going to play in trials?" Like, no, I hope I don't play against Burn round 2, but I'm just gonna play it out. It's fine. I prefer to like not spend the money, see friends and stuff. And then the day comes, round 1 buy, as I said. Round 2, sit down against this pretty young guy. I think he looked about 16. He looked pretty nervous, but he looked pretty new to the format. And then I pick up his deck as we start to shuffle it, and I can feel it single-sleeved.
And you're like, well, nothing expensive in here. Better mash these together.
And so I'm just like, God, I know this is Burn, isn't it? God, I know it's Burn.
You could tell from shuffling his deck that it was going to be Burn.
I really don't want to be that condescending arsehole, which we were just talking about. But he's younger, he was nervous, it was single-sleeved, and lo and behold, he went turn 1 Mountain Goblin Guide. I'm like, fuck me. Regretted everything. I got insanely lucky to win the match.
You just stare at him, and you slowly shake your head back and forth like, what have you fucking done?
He was lovely. He was so nice. I really don't want to, I'm sure he won't remember or listen to this for me now, but he was lovely about it, and he just said afterwards, he said, oh, this is my first Legacy GP, I don't play very often. And it was really cool. We chatted afterwards. But in my head, when he went turn 1 Mountain, I was like, God, this is my nightmare. Because Miracles was really cold to it. Like I said, I got very lucky.
You're like, I just took this warmth out of the sideboard, and now, face and burn.
I was kind of like, God, I deserve this
warmth.
Third predict.
So yeah, guys, there's probably like a ton more stories, awesome stories we have to tell. Is there anything you still want to say about the current state of the format? Because I think it's really hard to like make any predictions. We were talking about Garuda at some point, I think. earlier today, and people were wondering, like, is Garuda still a deck? And I was like very quick to shoot it down, but then some people made like a case for Garuda, like for a more mid-rangey version of it.
There's a lot of hope for it, actually. Like, I think the current version is obviously a lot worse, but it could just be a turn slower. It's very powerful against the slower control decks you are playing slower, or you're like playing a Thornot Seer and Chalice and stuff. I think it could still be a decent deck. Not like, I think right now it feels like actually the kind of tier 1 broken deck, whatever. But I think there's still hope for it as it is. I could be completely wrong here, but I would lean further on it's good rather than it's unplayable. And then people are talking about like potentially playing 4 in the main deck and not even companion it, and you get to play like Dark Ritual, Brainstorms, Force of Will and stuff. Like it's a threat you can just cast with fast mana and is blue to pitch to Force of Will and stuff.
Yeah, the issue I see with that is once you start playing all these extra cards, Garuda really didn't have that many slots, right? It had like the 4 Thought-Knot Seers and the 4 Chalices and everything else. If you want to go for the clone version, right, you could also, I guess, build a version that's just looking to get like a Grizzlebrand or something into play.
That's the thing, like Aurum was playing like a version that had Grizzlebrands and Sire of Insanities, and it was just trying to...
Yeah, the thing is, like, Aurum is clinically certified insane. Like, he's got the document at home, so I don't know if that counts.
So, I don't know. I tried to think about this deck earlier today, and it's hard to build, I guess. But there could be something else. So, yeah, I don't think Garuda's dead.
There was some talk about Food Chain Alurum for like 2 minutes, but then it immediately died down. Food Chain Garuda, not Alurum.
You don't have anything good to hit with it, really. And you'd be playing clones in this deck, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, you can just kill people much easier with Food Chain in play.
So I guess we just like see how it works out. So assuming there was like a big tournament this week, well, I guess you would also be playing just Esper Vial, or what would you be going for?
I kind of like the look of Rug Delver. I haven't played Delver in a long time, and today I was just looking it over and I was like, it just looks pretty slick. I don't know. Like, I like Hootie Mandrills and Stifle quite a lot as well. I haven't played Delver in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, again, when things get shaken up, Delver's pretty good, and it can beat Snow with Clothis, and I think Stifle's quite good against these decks. So.
See, that's what I'm saying when I say I want to punish people. I want to establish the framework under which anyone in any given format can operate, and that's why I'm playing Burn, because it tells you that you can't splash Gifts Ungiven, and I want Delver to be like, that doesn't even need to be Delver, right? But any kind of tempo deck to be there to find out with how much stuff people can get away with. And that's why I like Delver. And whether you play Stifle or not, I love Stifle. I want to play the Stifle version. Everybody keeps telling me, don't play the Stifle version. Now I found this one guy on Twitter who actually says, you're insane. All you guys have to play Stifle. So I unfollowed everybody else and I just follow him now. And that's where I want to be. I want to be in a position to do that either through playing a bunch of shitty creatures that just multiply, or while doing the Delver thing. And that's basically the two things. And in an unexplored metagame, that's the two things I want to do. And Matt, you want to play Enchantress, right?
I do. I definitely do. I want to play some Argothian Enchantresses. I want to play some Destiny Spinners. I want to play that 4/6. What's that black dude who...
Oh, Doomwake Giant.
Doomwake Giant. And then you just cast Wild Growth, and then you just draw a bunch of cards and nuke their whole field. It's excellent. It's such a good time.
Awesome. So I guess we're going to call it a day with that. Something I want to mention, especially for our Patreons coming up, there's going to be a Patreon thing they change regarding VAT. I wrote about it on the Patreon feed, so you can check it over there. Like, the vast majority of you won't be affected by that. Especially if you're not, like, if you're living in Europe, it won't even affect you at all. If you're living in a different country, there's a chance, but it's pretty slow because I went through Patreon and I optimized all the perks. Also, by the way, I updated some of the perks and changed the benefits that you can get. So it's very likely that VAT won't be applied to you. And if it does, it's not going to be a big thing. But if you have any questions about that, let me know. Also, I merged the two Discord channels that we had. We always had the Everyday Eternal one. I also had my own personal one, but that didn't really make sense because neither side was like big enough to like justify splitting those. So if you support me on Patreon, like me personally, or the podcast, you will get access to the Everyday Eternal / it's Julian, I guess, Discord. And if you want to do that, you can do that on patreon.com/everydayeternal. Just like this month, Dennis Offerman.
I'd like to also add in a quick thing that I'm pretty active on Discord, and I'm in the Everyday Eternal Discord. So I love talking about building new decks, and I love talking about, well, the format in general. So especially if you're looking for like some new deck ideas or anything like that, I'm always available there to talk pretty much every day. So do feel free to come in and chat as much as you want.
And to reach me, you can send me a self-addressed sealed envelope to an address linked below. And, of course, and then I will post it back to you. Expect, currently with coronavirus, a 6-week turnaround time. So,
are we really going to post your address there?
no.
You just do it like what you've always been doing. You just give people my address and I will take care of it.
Exactly. My fan mail can go to Julian's house.
Piles and piles of it.
Awesome. So, yeah, with that, if you want to find us on Twitter, we have a Twitter account @EternalMTG. And if you want to find me personally, I'm @It'sJulian23. And you can find Callum at
Whitefaces MTG.
Exactly. And if you want to contact Matt, like, he's really hard to reach.
Self-addressed sealed envelope, as I said. Yeah, back in the old days.
You guys have no idea like how much paperwork we gotta do every week to just like get him out of the military to be able to comment on all of this here on the podcast. So some of the Patreon money also goes towards that, so we can free him from a stasis every week. So yeah, if you want to become a patron, it does make a difference for us, but you don't have to only support us or just support us like in a financial way. You can also just go to iTunes, leave a review there. So if people go like, hey, let me find a legacy podcast, and we will pop up, or even through Google, right? It does help us out there. And we got a couple of special Patreons that I want to shout out. Those are our Eternal Witness tier Patreons, Matt Nams, Valerio, James Slack, Victor Bernanz, and of course, our longtime Grizzlebrand tier supporters, Bashu Bat, Scott Monroe, Kurush Alistay, and Jeremy Gates. Thank you so much for that. And see you again next week for the next Everyday Eternal. Thank you. Bye-bye.